Alright, hello, and welcome to another episode of Movie Spoiler Alerts. Today is our 13th episode, and today we're going to be talking about the 2017 film, It.
Chapter 1.
Chapter 1, yes. So we're going to go over a bit of the summary, kind of plow through that, and then we'll get into what we thought about the film and some of the comparisons between this film and the older one. So take it away.
Okay, so the film opens in October of 1988, and Bill sends his brother Georgie out into the rainy streets of Derry?
Derry, yes.
With a paper sailboat. When it floats into a storm drain, Georgie peeks down into it to see Pennywise, who entices Georgie closer, severs his arm with a bite, and drags him into the sewer. The following summer, Bill and his group of friends, Richie, Eddie, and Stan, search the Barrens, a marshy sewer drain, for Georgie. They find the shoe of another missing child. New kid Ben stumbles upon them after being tortured by Henry Bowers and his gang. While trying to care for Ben, Bill and the rest of the group run into Beverly, who later joins them in their summer adventures. Later, the group befriends Mike after defending him from Bowers. All the while, each member encounters terrifying phenomenons. Now calling themselves the Loser Club, they realize they are being terrorized by the same entity. They determine it, Pennywise, assumes the appearance of their fears, awakens every 27 years, and feeds on children using the sewers to move about. Finding all the sewer lines lead to a house, the group goes there and is terrorized. However, Bill realizes that if they are not afraid, the terrible things will disappear. Eddie breaks his arm and Beverly impales Pennywise. Afterwards, the group splits up, concluding that fighting it is dangerous, leaving only Bill and Beverly wanting to take action against it. Weeks later, Beverly confronts her sexually abusive father and is abducted by it. The Loser Club reassembles to rescue her. As they descend into the well, Mike takes down Henry Bowers, who killed his father after being compelled by it and was after the group to murder them. Beverly, catatonic after being exposed to its true form, is restored by a kiss from Ben. Bill takes down Pennywise in disguise of Georgie and brutally battles it until its retreat further into the well. Beverly later informs the group she had a vision of all of them fighting it as adults, and they all make a pact to return if it was not destroyed.
All right, so that was the plot of the film, which in general was very similar to the first film, well, half of the first film, which I'm going to be doing a summary of that probably within the next week, so keep an eye out for that. But I guess starting out, what was your overall thoughts on the film?
We're starting out with overall thoughts.
Well, we're going to break it down, but let's go with your initial...
Overall thoughts. I thought it was cookie cutter and very generic compared to the first one. Okay. I just thought that they did a lot of things in this one that are pretty generic for a horror film. For a horror film involving kids. I just thought the first one was a little bit more adult, and this one didn't feel that way for me. Okay.
And then, I guess, what all right, give me an example just of what would be something that, you know, was a, like, I mean, because to me, like, the things, like, there was a lot more jump scares, I felt like, in this one than there was in the original. And I felt like that.
Well, I could talk about that for a little while if you want me to. I didn't think they were really jump scares, though. A lot of the scenes in the film were, like, during daylight. Mm-hmm. Why did they do that?
Yeah.
Why? A lot of them were, like, it was, like, sunny outside. I'm like, okay, it's not dark. I'm not, like, holding my breath for something jumping out of the dark. Mm-hmm. We're in a brightly lit alleyway, and we're looking into a dark building.
Yeah. I think the only, now that you say that, because I did start to think about the fact that a lot of the film did take place during the day. Mm-hmm. I think the only scene that I can think of that did take place at night was in the basement with his brother Georgie.
And that was the only kind of terrifying scene. Other than when they go down into the sewer, where it's dark out.
Yeah.
Not dark out, but it's dark in the sewer.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, what was the original question?
I just wanted a few examples, and you gave me a few. So that was what I was going for.
Okay, good. I guess I nailed that one.
So, now I guess I didn't initially think that negatively about it. I didn't think it was great. I thought it was, in many ways, a copy of the original. They didn't take... I guess I'm glad they didn't take any real artistic liberties, but I kind of wish they did, because...
You don't think they took artistic liberties? Like, with the way it was designed?
I guess what I mean is that the overall story wasn't changed in any way. For those who, for some reason, skipped the first series actually is pretty much what part 2 and part 1 are going to be. The only thing is that it shows them as adults and as kids, and I feel like that added a very interesting dynamic in the first film where we lost a lot of that in this one.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, I would agree.
And then, I guess, so going into it, for the acting, how do you, especially a movie filled with child actors, where child actors are oftentimes terrible, how do you think
I
these
thought
kids
the first
did?
one, the kids weren't terrible in it.
No.
I thought they did a great job in the 1991. This one, we start off with Georgie and Bill, and Bill's like, I'm sick.
Yeah,
and it was seriously like a fake cough. I'm like, are they doing something weird where Bill like actually isn't sick and now he's gonna feel extra guilty about his brother being killed? And they didn't. And I'm like, okay, well, what the hell is that then? And of course there's the actor from Stranger Things, and of course all that cast is great, so that was good. And the female character, I felt she was familiar. I guess I should have looked up if she was in anything, but I thought she did a good job.
Yeah, I thought those two were the best, in my opinion.
Yeah, the rest of them were just child actors, which is fine, because it's supposed to have kids in it. You gotta expect some of that, so. And
then, what about the Pennywise? Not comparing him to Tim Curry.
Let me get out my notes.
But how do you think, A, from an acting standpoint, B, from a character standpoint, how do you think he was?
I'm not going to answer neither of those. I'm going to go into a different... So
that's fine.
I didn't like the animation of him.
Okay.
I just thought it was creepier when he was more human-like. Because in this one, they gave it more characteristics that hint towards like an alien origin.
Yeah.
But to me, that feels just overdone. Like, I just feel like they overdid that, or that it's overdone in other horror movies. I just thought it was cool that he's like, I thought in the original it was better that he was just like a more human clown. Because to me now, like, a human clown is scarier than like this thing that's like just twitching all over the place. Like, a clown's going to be scarier if it's
more real, because
you see that more often. I don't know. That was my thought. But his teeth were cool.
Yeah. I thought
that was actually pretty
cool.
Because, you know, in the first one it's like more like vampire teeth.
Yeah.
This is more like an alien insect.
Yeah, it's almost like coming out of his mouth at
The
parts.
thing that I thought about when he was like the thing was sucking on Stan's face was like, oh my god, it's a face hugger.
Yeah.
Just because it gave it that more of the alien feel.
Exactly.
So this one was more cartoon like for me. And what was with the eyes? Why?
Oh, yeah, how they're constantly...
That's what I was saying. You don't think that they took artistic abilities?
Yeah, and with that, yes, they certainly did.
I'm sorry, I will answer your original question. What was your original question?
Just what did you think about the as the actor, and you kind of have hit at least the character part. I just mean, is the actor playing it?
I didn't see anything from the actor.
Okay.
I just thought it looked way too cartoony to actually take it as like an actor playing the part.
With what you're saying, a big point that I realized towards the end of the movie is in the first movie is a 2-part miniseries, but in it he talks to the kids a lot, and they very quickly find out his name is Pennywise. In this film, he never actually lets the kids know except for Georgie at the very beginning. Apart from Georgie, he never lets the other kids know his name is Pennywise.
And that scene I thought was really weird too. That's why I'm like, oh, this is not going in a good direction. Yeah. Because he's like talking to the kid for like ever. Like, just bite his arm off already. Yeah. I thought I don't know. I just didn't like it in this one. Yeah. I liked the it better in the old one, even though even though it was a little bit cheesier, I just thought it was a lot more creepier.
Yeah. The one other thing is, the interesting thing is, like, I felt like the trailer focused a lot on the line, "You'll float too."
And why did they get rid of the balloon in the gutter?
That's exactly what I thought.
The whole thing comes from him saying, like, it float, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, you'll float too. And then they use that line a couple of times throughout the original, and it becomes creepier and creepier because then you realize, oh, you're going to float in the sewer. Yeah. Like, that's creepy. And in this one, they like just used it without putting any meaning behind it.
Yeah, and I totally agree. That was why I think the floating failed in this movie, was because, first off, they didn't mention it later on, but second off, it was totally about the line in the first thing where Georgie says, oh, he shows him a balloon and he goes, oh, does it float? And he goes, yeah, down here you'll float too. And that's like right afterwards he kills him.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the "you'll float too" line so scary.
They did I guess they did not outright explain it, but they kind of showed it when they showed all the kids' bodies floating.
Yeah.
Around Pennywise's
pile
home.
of junk or whatever
I
it was.
don't know.
Which I almost wish they were floating in a pool of water.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize at first when we were watching.
I thought they were maybe still alive.
Yeah, and that's kind of the feeling I
was
got.
like, oh, they're okay. This is gonna kind of take a different direction. Like, they saved all the kids. How cool! No, all the kids are dead, just floating in the air.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of wish they were floating in like a pool of water.
Yeah.
Because when we were watching the first film, I was thinking that's what they meant, was float in the sewer, like float in water, but it wasn't until you actually said it to me that I was like, oh, okay, that is what they meant.
Yeah.
So yeah. And so I guess with the pacing, because the first film, or the first miniseries was 3 hours long. I think this was roughly 2.5 hours long. So in the first miniseries, with it being 3 hours long, contained essentially the story we're going to get from Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. So based off that means this new movie is slower. You know what I mean? Is they're telling the Chapter 1 over a longer period of time. So I guess, how did you feel about the pacing of the movie?
Too long.
Yeah. And that's what
there was points where I'm just like, okay, we get it. We get it. We can move on.
Yeah, I didn't really understand why they had to go twice into the house. I felt like they could have gone in the house once and then done everything, as opposed to going to the house twice, which was a little goofy to me.
Yeah, so when they went in the house twice, why did they have to go upstairs into the house? They knew they were going for a sewer and for a well.
Yeah.
Is the well going to be upstairs in the house?
Yeah.
So on a different point, I just felt like these kids were just stupider overall. Just stupider kids.
Yeah.
There was a couple things that they did, but that was one of them. Like, why are you even going upstairs? Okay, some creepy thing's calling you up there.
Don't go out there.
Don't go, like, in every movie is like, don't open the door. Yeah. But in this is like, why are you opening the door? Why are you going upstairs? Why? Yeah. You know there's the well. You know a well is in the ground. Like, go towards the ground. So yeah, so I don't understand that either. I don't know why they had. I just, and I thought the same thing.
We touched on some of it, especially with Pennywise, but just in general, how was your feeling overall on the special effects and, more importantly, the horror related effects?
I think they could have been a lot creepier if it was like, if they did a darker scene. I didn't like the animated that much. Like, where he confronts Beverly down in the hole or whatever, and like the thing flips down, like he's supposed to be dancing or something.
Yeah, he's like jiggling.
But he's not. He's just like twitching and freaking out. I didn't like that.
I think the parts I did like, because there was a few special effects I liked. I typically liked when he was not being Pennywise and he was scaring people based off of their fears, because he just kept reverting back to Pennywise too easily in my mind. But I liked when later on, towards the end of the film, they're all beating up Pennywise, and like as they're beating him up, he's kind of like the kid who's about to attack him, he's trying to scare this kid because he feeds off their fear. And it seems to be like, at least in this film, and kind of in the first one too, is that if he fears them, then he's defeated. And he's starting to try to do whatever he can. And it's when the Mike, whose parents were burned alive, his mouth opens up and like a bunch of hands came out. Like, I thought that was a cool effect. And I thought the weird picture that the dad had in his house, like when that came to life, that was creepy to me.
Yeah.
But I think I agree. Everything related to Pennywise the clown just oftentimes is super silly.
Yeah.
And
you're talking about the ending scene where they're like beating on him. I liked in the original that the kid's imagination like defeated it rather than physically beating it. Because how are kids gonna physically beat down this alien? The idea that he's using their fears against them, so they're gonna make up their own way to defeat him using their imagination. Yeah. The same thing that would make them fear something. Yeah, was just a lot more interesting to me.
Yeah, like the line in the first one where he sprays his inhaler on him. He's like, "This is battery acid." Yeah.
And they use, they believe that this silver is going to kill it, so it can't.
Yeah. The only incident of that was when he fires the unloaded whatever you call it,
That's
sheep killing
true.
device. The kids.
But I wasn't sure if he was trying to just trick the kid. But I guess you're right. Yeah. I guess that's true.
That was the only. But what I mean is that was the only.
Really subtle.
He did that. He did that, and then they still like all just beat on him, which I guess they believed they could beat on him, but that just wasn't as creative as in the first film.
Yeah.
So we've talked about some of the elements, but how do you think it? Well, I guess actually before we get to that, overall, would you say it was scary or no?
No.
Okay.
If I would have been I would have thought it was scarier if it was a lot darker.
Okay.
I think it needed to be darker overall.
I think to me, the two things that were creepiest were the bully. Like, the non-Pennywise stuff was what was scary to me.
Yeah, they did the sexually abusive father.
The sexually abusive father.
Very different.
That was
very
really
intense.
Scary.
Maybe not
just
scary, but like, yeah, uncomfortable, and really for me, like, just totally uncalled for. Like,
yeah, it was.
I mean, her father was abusive in the first one, and that alone was a lot.
But
this was like, whoa.
Yeah, the whole line.
Where is this coming from? And that for me heads into a different thing of, they took away a lot of the, not in that there was a lot of it in the first one, but kind of the innocence of the children. And I felt like that added a lot to the first film. Yeah. In this one, they're swearing and being like super vulgar.
Yeah, the kid who, what's his name? Freddie, is that his name?
Eddie,
yeah, the one with the glasses. In the first film, he's making jokes.
Yeah, he's making jokes. He's making like kid jokes, like, well, frankly, trying to use.
And some of them are racist, but these ones are like very derogatory sexual ones that, if I recall, they're supposed to be between like 12 and 13.
Yeah.
And if you were to make these jokes, I understand boys make those jokes, but that's more like a 16, 17, 18.
Right.
Jokes.
And so I thought that took away a lot from like them being children. And I thought it was just kind of out of place. Like, in the original, it's not necessarily like a kid's movie. And this one, it's not necessarily a kid's movie, but now it's really not a kid's movie.
Yeah. And
so,
and
it's weird for a film to have a majority of child actors, but an adult film.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was a weird element that they threw in there, was that.
And so I guess because we've talked about a lot of it, but is there any other points that you can think of, just in general, how it compares to the original film?
Yeah. I didn't like the whole Georgie could be alive thing.
Oh, yeah.
I liked it more when he was just dead.
Yep.
Because Bill wanted to kill Pennywise, and now he just has this hope to find his brother.
Yeah.
And the first one, it's like this kid being like, I want to kill this guy because he killed my brother. Yeah. And like, that's a lot scarier to me than like, oh, I hope I can find my brother because he might be still alive. And this one, it pulls him into the sewer, so his body with his arm off.
Yep.
And that's another scary thing too, for the kid to know my brother's arm was taken off and he was killed by this scary clown.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, we don't know who took him, and he could still be alive.
That's another thing, is when you see him at the end of the film and you see him pretending to be Georgie for a second time, Georgie doesn't have an arm.
Yeah.
Bill has no idea that his brother... In the first film, he knew because they had his body and they like had a funeral and everything. Because that was the thing in the first film, was these bodies were being found. but in this one, they weren't finding the bodies because he was making them all float and stay there forever, as opposed to having them wash out. And
I didn't think about how it wasn't just. I was confused why there were so many kids.
Yeah,
that makes sense. That there was but there should have been more bodies then.
Oh yeah,
okay,
there should have.
Okay.
My thought is that some of them were from this time and some of them were for previous time, but they're not all the previous ones.
Well, that's just confusing then.
But the fact that like he didn't have an arm, like he didn't know his brother didn't have an arm, so why would he need to do that?
Yeah, and was his one indicator that it wasn't his brother because he didn't call the boat she?
Yeah.
After he told it to him one time.
One time.
He could have just known anyway.
Yeah, but the other thing too is that I actually really liked in the first one that they did the whole element of seeing them as adults, seeing them as kids, adults, kids, adults, kids, adults, kids. That I haven't seen a ton of movies like that. We've seen a ton of movies where you have start to finish a linear timeline. Mm-hmm. And so that's what made the original a little more interesting, was seeing...
Yeah, you're going back and forth.
Yeah, and you see like, oh, this is what happened to him as a kid, and then you see what
even
happens
though
as an adult.
In the second episode or chapter of that one, it's a lot more towards the adult. So I can see why they did it.
Yeah.
But it definitely did make it more interesting.
Yeah. And we've talked about it a bit, but the first one to me, to a degree, I would describe as almost like the Goonies plus a scary clown, like in the sense that it doesn't make it seems like kids going on a kid adventure with something terrifying. Whereas you've said they're kids that are pretty much doing adult things, talking like adults. Yeah. And then there's a bunch of scary stuff, but randomly they have these big sequences where they're doing, let's play around in the water, which has nothing to do with the film. Yeah,
okay. You're touching on that a little bit with what I wanted to bring up, but in the original, Beverly is like, I cleaned up all the blood the first time. What? Why did they have to put in a whole scene of them cleaning up the blood in the bathroom?
Yeah.
It didn't come back like it did in the original. No. What was that all about? And that kind of leads into my second point of, Stan was the one that stayed outside in that scene, right? Mm-hmm. Did you feel like they had Stan not in this movie as much as the original? I mean, we kind of know maybe what will happen to Stan if they do stick as close as to the original.
Which, spoiler, he dies.
Well, he kills himself because he doesn't want to go back to fight it.
Yeah. Either he was compelled by it to kill himself, or but regardless, the fear of it is what caused his death, which is what.
So spoiler. I always try to not say things, but I'm like, we're spoiling things anyway. Yeah. But yeah, I just felt like, okay, Stan's staying outside for this, and Stan's staying outside for this. So why are we already taking him out of the storyline?
I really feel like we're there because Stan, you didn't hate in the miniseries.
Yeah, I did kind of hate him this time.
I was gonna say, I feel like they're setting him up so you hate him. So when you see him as an adult and he kills himself, you're a little more okay with it. You're supposed to be a little upset because he's one of the gang, but he's the one of the gang you hate the most.
Yeah. All right.
Anything else that you can think of between the?
Yeah. So there's this whole ending scene in this one where Bill goes and kisses Beverly, and she's gonna leave forever.
Yeah.
She's gonna come back, but he kisses her, and she's like, I don't know. I liked in the original Ben as a love interest. He just seemed like the more likable guy, and even in this one, he just seems like the more likable guy. I don't know. So I don't know why they were making. I don't, who knows what will happen in the second half, but I don't know why they're making Bill more of a love interest than Ben, because in the original, only Ben thought that I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I agree. I get what you're getting at.
Why do we have to throw in this, why do we have to push it in this one? And the original, it was a little...
As the kids, it was a little seed, and then when it got to them as adults, there was a little more there.
Yeah.
So
I don't know why you have to push it when they're children.
Yeah,
they pushed a lot of things though in this movie. So
the only other thing is that and I'm struggling to remember how much it's touched on. I know it's touched on more in the book, they really go into it, but the fact that Pennywise is actually this intergalactic alien who is like as old as time. Like it's really in depth. I've never actually read it, but I've had this explained to me, and I meant to research it a bit. But I guess, do you feel like that was more present, at least in this first part that we've seen?
That's what they were trying to do when they added these characteristics of it, where it can, like, it's twitchy and its eyeballs aren't right, and it's just not more human than it was in the original. Yeah. So they did, the thing that I didn't realize, though, is that when he opened his mouth and the three little lights, and that's what caused her. Oh, yeah. I didn't realize that was supposed to be his true form.
Yeah, the dead lights.
I didn't realize that until I had started to do the summary for it. Like, oh. Yeah. Okay. And the original is, like, really in your face.
Yeah. And they even directly talk about it.
Oh, yeah, they talk about it a lot. But... yeah, I think they touched on it a little bit more. I didn't need it to be touched on. Yeah. I know that it's some supernatural thing.
Yeah, because to me, once you start saying it's this intergalactic alien, to me, that's when it takes the idea of the story about it being almost a entity of pure fear, but making him some alien, like, makes me think, like, there's a civilization with a bunch of Pennywises, and then it starts to get silly.
It starts to put holes in it where you can just easily be like, oh, well, this happened because this. And they did that already when they made Ben kiss Beverly, and then she was okay. Like, oh, true love's kiss. Yeah. That felt silly to me, too. Like, okay, you just threw a huge loophole.
And I liked the funny moment because they could have been a funny moment right there, that he kissed her and he kind of like looked like I just was trying, and it should have not worked, and something else should have done it. So because that would have made the moment funny, but like in place funny.
It should have been once it goes down further into the well, then she comes back.
Yeah, exactly.
It shouldn't have been some kiss thing.
Yeah, because that just made it silly.
But that's why I'm like, okay, true love kiss, and then she just kisses Bill anyway. Come on. Yeah. It's supposed to be Ben. He brought you out of your catatonic state with a true love kiss.
With that kiss, the one thing I was thinking about is her hand is cut, and when she puts her hand to his face to kiss him,
the blood's different, right?
Well, he does have blood.
Well, the blood is different on his face and at each shot.
My point is the fact that she's got a cut on her hand, and that hurt. You don't need to put your bloody, gross, and painful hand on his face. And that's something
that I tell you all the time when we watch movies where they do, like, this ritual of, like, cutting their hand. Why do you need to cut the palm of your hand for blood? Why does it need to be the most sensitive part, one of the most sensitive parts of your body that you move all the time? Why can't it be, like here?
Yeah,
like,
it's just silly.
I don't know. Anyway, that's just something that I thought was really silly too. That they put in there. That was kind of like
the blood brother, and that is I swear there's a Goonies scene, and if it's not in Goonies,
is that what made you?
If it's not in Goonies, I swear there's another movie that's just like the Goonies, where there's at least 15 where they do, or they do the
original
spit
was fine,
handshake.
where he was just like, hey, let's make this promise, because that made it more like these are really good kids who are really gonna make. Slicing your hand.
Well, and the thing that bothered me too is they slice one hand, but then they grab somebody else
with, like, the bare hand.
The whole point of the Blood Brothers thing is so you
the blood
mix
goes
the blood
together. Yeah, I know.
So,
I know.
There's a lot of silly things. The one thing too that, like, was driving me nuts was the whole, like, the thing is the guy had the gun that could, was the sheep killing gun. I don't know what those are called, but it's the hammer. Anyway, he had it, and there I swear there's like 3 or 4 scenes where he doesn't have the backpack with the because it's a hydraulic thing, and I swear, or pneumatic rather, I swear he doesn't have the backpack on. It's just dangling there.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, that's not going to work. And then he does have it. When he actually uses it, it's actually there. But I swear there's like 3 or 4 times that he doesn't have it. It's nowhere to be found. And they just remembered, oh shit, he's got to have a backpack on for that thing to work. And why do you have a backpack gun, like sheep killer? I mean, I guess I don't know anything about farming, but I don't think that's a thing.
And that was another thing of where I'm like, these kids are just stupider. Because he just like sets it on the well and he's like, oh no, it fell.
Yeah.
What a surprise. Anyway.
So like I said, I thought the only 2 scary things in the movie were that were scarier than the original were the bully who just you can't even call him a bully. He is a serial killer who has just, at least not until towards the end of the film when he kills his dad, yet to kill anyone, which in the original, that's the one thing they did do different, is in the original, he doesn't die. He is actually the one blamed for killing all the kids, and he's in jail.
Yeah.
And
he takes responsibility
Yeah.
because probably it told him to or whatever.
Yeah, and then that was the one big difference. And then also, Beverly's dad was way scarier, way more uncomfortable, like really creepy.
Yeah.
So, all right. So
I have one final question.
Yes.
Why the hell was the well so big?
Yeah. Well, ginormous structure underneath the city, and
Yeah, and
'cause
I'm
it
not
was
sure if I'm
huge.
recalling right. In the original, wasn't it just like a water treatment plant or something?
yeah, it's exactly what it was.
Okay. Why is there this huge ass well under this city with
It's
like
not just under the city,
ceilings, like
not just under the city, under a house that apparently no one knows about. There's no way that, and like,
I mean, all the adults are supposed to like not know what's happening,
and they're also
but
supposed to be like
why?
complacent to
Yeah,
everything. Like they're
yeah.
really okay with the fact that their kids
that
die
this
constantly.
kid is like getting this word etched into his stomach.
Yeah.
They just drive by or whatever. But why the hell is this well so big? That was my final question.
Yeah,
Really,
'cause
is what the hell?
Well, and that's the other thing too, is the part we saw, they went into part of the well.
I
The
know
well kept going.
the well kept going, and each part of the well kept going, and
Yeah.
there was all these other chambers that we didn't see, and it's this small little town
It's
in
a
Maine.
really small town.
Why the hell is the sewer system this
I
big?
don't know. Maybe when they designed it, they expected.
Maybe when they designed it, this alien creature was like, make it really big so I can live
Yeah.
here.
Maybe they
Sorry,
thought
final
dairy was going to
question.
be a really big deal, and it just turned out not to be that big of a deal. I don't know.
Maybe what turned out to be
The
what?
the city. Maybe they thought the city was going to be like the
I
next
keep
New
forgetting
York.
what it's called.
The new New York of I think it's Maine is where they are, because
they had
Stephen
they had like a
King's-
ton of license plate that said
well,
Maine in this
Stephen
one.
King's obsessed with Maine.
Okay, well.
So at least that's what I've been told. And like all his
Well,
stories
they
take place in
really
Maine.
they put it on the license plate in like every scene, so you knew for sure where it was.
Yeah. So overall, what's your score out of 10?
Oh God.
And remember, in my opinion, horror movies and Halloween movies always get a little bump because it's not a movie that you're gonna watch. Probably it automatically falls into a themed part of the year.
Okay, so what would you say is like a 5?
I'd say a 5 is pretty much all the things are if you were to artificially bump them up by 1 or 2 points. So a 5 is like you could watch it again, where normally I say a 7 is you have to watch it again.
Yeah, I'd give it a 5.
Intentionally. I think I'm at a 6.
I wouldn't watch it again
Okay.
unless this. I wouldn't watch it again. Why would I? I could watch. I wouldn't watch it again. And I just thought pretty cheesy, not scary. The first one, I guess I wasn't like The first one I wasn't like terrified, but it was still like creepy. This one I was just like, okay, it's an animated thing. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't watch it again, and I just wouldn't rate it very high.
I guess if we weren't movie spoiler alerts and we gotta watch movies for movies' sake, would you watch the second one if it wasn't for that?
Yeah, because I'm interested in how they're gonna do it.
Okay. And see, and that's the basis that I would watch another. Because I know I would want to watch the second one. That's why I'm giving it a 6.
But that
And-
shouldn't be your
No,
reason,
no, no.
because
No,
you
but
know
that's the thing
there's
is-
gonna be a second
But
part.
that's the thing is, I definitely thought
You're gonna bump it up because you know there's
know.
gonna be another one.
I thought certain elements were a little. I wasn't as harsh, I guess. I agree with your points. I disagree a little less, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There was certain elements where I was.
So what did you think was
A little
really
scared.
cool in it that made it a 6 instead of a 5? Oh, you can't even do it.
Yeah, probably not.
It's a 5.
If we were to give it a channel rating, as a channel, we'd give it a 5. I might personally give it a 6, but I am notorious for giving weird ratings to movies that
Okay.
other people disagree with.
Interstellar. I'm sorry. What? I
Everyone
didn't say
agrees with
anything.
Interstellar. Some people might try to argue with me on the second and third Matrix, but they're wrong.
Okay.
So that was that movie. And then I guess just because we're very close to approaching Halloween and you can't see it on the webcam, but our entire house is decorated with Halloween stuff, and we have a giant display that I'm sure irritates all of our neighbors. But for Halloween movies, what are your essential Halloween movies? The movies that you got to watch every year, or, you know, they definitely just hold a good place for Halloween.
Halloween Town.
Okay.
Very high on my list.
And that's okay.
Number one.
They don't have to all be scary.
I don't really think of scary movies as Halloween to go to movies. Because, like, a scary movie, you're supposed to watch it once and it's supposed to scare you. And then you're like, oh, yeah, that one was really scary. And I would only rewatch it if I haven't watched in a long time. So Halloween Town for me is like... every Halloween movie that I'm going to pick is going to be, like, a nostalgia childhood thing. You know, so Halloween Town... Halloween Town 2. Just kidding. The Night Before Christmas. But I always feel so weird watching that one before Halloween. I like watching it like at Thanksgiving time. So it's like Christmas and Halloween.
Yeah, so you feel like you're being fair to both holidays.
Well, you have to because it has both in there.
Yeah.
And you know, Jack Skellington really likes
Christmas.
So you gotta... I don't know. That is one that I watch around this time of year too. I don't know what else I would say. For
me, I would agree with both of those, but my two others that I would even say more, and I really like Nightmare Before Christmas, but I always debate whether it's a Christmas movie or it's a Halloween movie, because there's more songs about Christmas.
That's why I feel weird. Okay, there's already Christmas decorations in every store. Yeah. That's why I feel weird watching it.
And that's why I almost feel like it has to be a Christmas movie, is because, and I was talking about this today, is I work in retail, and we had our Christmas decorations up before we had our Halloween decorations up. So my belief is Christmas needs more Halloween in it, not more Christmas, or more. I'm saying it wrong. We need more Halloween in Christmas than we need Christmas and Halloween. But the other two would be Hocus Pocus.
Okay, that's the one I was trying to think of.
Hocus Pocus for sure. That's one I don't think I've ever missed a year of watching, and I know for certain I've never missed a year watching Casper, the Friendly Ghost, with Christina Ricci, because there's certain lines from it I quote all the time, and no one has any idea what I'm talking about.
Like me.
Like you. Yeah. But I really like that one. So, all right. Well, I think that's wrapping it up for us. We may have another Halloween related podcast. I can't guarantee anything, but there will certainly be a summary for the mini series of It, as well as when the movie does come out, we'll do a spoiler for this one too. And remember to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching, and if we don't see ya, happy Halloween. All right. I'm gonna put the Kylo part in the bloopers.
Oh my gosh, I want to see the Kylo part.
He just wants to be close.
I know. Come here. Come here. This would be great for the video. Come on. All the way. Come on, all the way. You can do... Oh, you need some help. Okay. There. Okay, you just got it. Okay, now talking to the mic. Say welcome to Movie Spoiler Works. You got... Wait. No, you got to focus. This is serious. Focus and say it. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3.
We're just gonna make a channel about that.
Uh-oh. Okay, you gotta go to bed. Obi's gonna beat me up. You gotta go to bed. It's bedtime. Don't lick me. Hello, and welcome to Movie Spoiler Alert. Today, we're talking about Kylo. Kylo is a dog, not Kylo Ren. Kylo is a dog, and he likes treats. And his brother is Obi. Kylo likes treats.
Hey, come on, Kylo.
Yeah, come here, bud. Come on, I'll carry you. I'll carry you.
Goddamn douche.